All right, seems like we're here.
All right, we're live.
Alex, they keep voting out the women. All the women are gone. I can't.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, my name is Alex. This is Liz. We are both LRG hosts, and welcome to Talking About Matariki. We still haven't come up with a good name for this podcast, but we're talking about Matariki, so that's what it is. Talking about episode 3 this week
Yes.
of Survivor Matariki, shot in New Zealand by great guy Benji Hudson. He's unfortunately not going to be able to join us tonight, but we're talking about it, so I'm excited.
And we are definitely pronouncing it wrong, but I've been told that so is everyone on the show. So
Oh, it's Matariki. That's right. That's right.
yeah, but I don't even think that's right. I don't know. Maybe your original one was. We'll never know. Probably.
Well, let's just recap the episode and the season so far. Liz, what have you gathered so far from the season?
Yeah, well, something that's really stood out has just been the production value, the editing. It's quite like a young cast, but they all still know how to like talk and stuff. They're very, they each have a personality that they're not afraid to show to the camera. So that's been really great. And it's been unexpected. Like it's been quite unpredictable, I think. Especially this episode. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, okay. So far this season, it's been top quality, like production value, I would say. That's one of my biggest compliments to Benji and the whole production crew on his team is that it's so well edited, it's so well shot. I mean, you just don't see types of stuff like that, you know? Even on the real shows on TV, you don't see those types of camera angles and like those types of like, in focus and then out of focus,
Mm.
background shot. You don't see that very often. So it's very breath of fresh air, I would say, to see that. As far as the gameplay goes, it's going pretty good. Currently, I'm rooting for my boy Jake. Yeah, Jake. I think so. Yeah, his name's
Yeah,
Jake. He
yeah.
seems he
Jake
seems
came out strong this episode.
Yeah, like right off the bat at the very beginning of this episode, he he's getting a bit cocky, in my opinion.
A little
Uh,
bit, but then
a
he
little,
gets paranoid later.
yeah. At the very beginning of this episode, it seemed like he was getting. Don't take offense if you're watching this, Jake, but it seemed like he was getting a little bit like, I know what's going on, and then he finds the idol. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely cheering for Jake at the start of the episode. I was like, he's the one who's like playing the hardest. He knows the most about what's going on. He's been fluid in, I mean, in the first episode, like he was the person who, caused Helena to get voted out because, convinced Sam to jump on board. But then Sam in this swing vote position has become sort of dangerous for Jake because, now Sam's talking to Kahu and Mitch and thinking he might join in with them. And yeah.
Everyone is like in the game at this point. It's I think it's day 3 for them. I think like they've been
Yeah,
out there like living for 3 days now, so they're
I'm losing track.
I think they're getting a little deprived of food and water and sanity, I think. So these contestants are finally showing their true colors, and it's really coming through, and it's looking really good too.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some pretty, interesting conversations where at some point it seemed like Holly was almost sort of like low key, like threatening Sam, being like, "Hey, I switched the vote on these people. I can switch it on to you as well."
That's
Um,
right.
which I thought was pretty fun. Especially because he didn't like overreact to it. Like he wasn't in confessionals being like, she's trying to threaten me, like how dare she. He just kind of like was like, oh yeah, and then he turned it on her later.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and then there was Jake trying to talk to Joe, and Joe just like not having any of it.
Yeah, it was. There's just a lot of, like I said, these people are starting to show their true colors, and that's something that I talked about at episode 1. I just put out there like it's gonna be fun to see where these people end up in a few days, or like a few episodes, I guess, but in a few days, and it's truly going down. I mean, everybody is strategizing and just throwing everything against the wall at this point.
Yeah. And they're being like surprisingly honest. Like they're using honesty as a strategy almost in sometimes. I don't know if it's been a super helpful strategy for anyone in particular. I think it kind of caused Holly's downfall this episode, but it's definitely fun to watch.
I'm really glad that we're gonna be interviewing Holly here in just a little bit, because she was definitely a character this episode, and I feel really bad. I didn't want her to get voted off because she's the last female. You can't have the last female get voted off, And she was such a strong person as well. Like such a person, like she was making food for everyone. How can you vote someone like that off? I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like this whole time Kahu's kind of been like coming for Holly, and I don't know why. I don't know what the deal is there, but it worked out, and it was a good move. Like I can't really deny that it was a good move. It looks bad to vote out the woman, but it's a good move in that they thought the votes would be going on Jake. Jake plays his idol. Turns out they're on Holly. Like the fact that Sam eventually outed Jake's idol basically made this a good move.
Yeah, the whole ending act of this episode was incredible. I loved that, just the whole, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, I'm sure, but like just the whole ending act of this episode was really, really nice. And the Kahu and everybody aligned with him I think Joe too, they completely played Jake up there, and no idol now. Oof, I mean it's getting down to it, and it's also like final 6, 5 at this point.
Yeah, I always think there's more people than there are, but
yeah,
because they started with like 9, but yeah,
it's crazy. Well, let's talk real quick about immunity. So Kahu wins the challenge. What was the challenge again? I kind of forgot.
I forgot too. Subject sort of thing, was it?
Touchy subject.
It was. Yeah.
And they had to chop the thing.
Yeah. So there were a few. There were questions about everyone. Write the name of what the majority would think. So classic Survivor touchy subjects challenge. They get some kind of like hammer or
like scissors
to smash someone's plate if they get a question right, and that it was really interesting like how that challenge went, because I think it kind of exposes people and exposes like who's doing well, and I found it interesting that like Kahu ended up winning, because it seemed more like he was more on the outs previously, but in the start of this episode, I think he really got himself into a good spot. And who was out first? Was it like Joe? Joe was out first.
I think yeah, Joe. I think so. I think so. I could look back at it, but
Yeah, Mitch was soon after. We had the three left were Holly, Kahu, and Sam. And then yeah, Holly goes, and then it's Sam and Kahu. And I would potentially say that those two are the two people like who seem to be playing the best right now, or be in the best position.
yeah, I was gonna say so after I watched the immunity challenge and Kahu wins, and I think right before that, there's a big segment with Kahu kind of just completely like starting to show himself. For the last few episodes, I haven't really. I've seen more like the Joe and Jake take kind of the head center, in that position. But this episode, Kahu really showed like he stood up and basically like I was at that after Kahu won that immunity challenge, I was like, oh my gosh, I think Kahu is winning this game. And I mean, I think that Kahu has a very, very good chance to win Survivor Matariki. I mean, I'm still gonna root for Jake, but if I had to be like real, like I would say I think it's gonna be Kahu who wins this game if he keeps playing how he's playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely cheering for Kahu. I think his decision, like for that reward on who to take, I was really impressed with that. I wondered, is he going to leave Mitch at camp? I was like, nah, people don't do that. They don't think that through as much. But he did. He did the thing where you leave your ally at camp to, collect the information there, and you take the person who's the swing vote, who's, take Sam.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's a great Survivor strategy for reward challenges is to take the people you're not as connected with, take them on a nice reward, get them some slushies or whatever they were drinking. I have to say that scene, what was it? Drinking smoothies while strategizing. That was the best moment of the episode.
Yeah, that's what you want, right? Like that's the dream.
Like they're just chilling, talking about who to vote off next. It's so.
All right. Well, we've got Holly joining us in Flex, so we can ask you some questions about what went down. Find out all the tea. Find out why Kahu was targeting her all the time. Yeah. Let's see. Hey, Holly. How you going?
Oh, there's Holly. Hi, Holly.
Hello. Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you so much for coming on this podcast.
No worries. I'm glad to be here.
Nice. We're gonna take you back in time, 2 years or however long it was.
So long.
Yeah. See what you remember about stuff. Yeah. So they, as you left, you said, these women haters voting out all the women. What are they doing? Yeah. How did you feel about that? Like, did you think that like that part of certain people targeting you was because you were like the last female, or do you think that like barely factored into it?
I think in some ways, but I think like the main reason I was targeted was, unfortunately with this game, we like quite a lot of us knew each other beforehand. And so there was already stuff that had happened beforehand that like people already had targets. So I think that's why there was a target put on my back from the beginning, because Joe and I have always had this sort of rivalry. And so I guess that because of that, it just kind of seemed like, it just meant that I was the target from the beginning, and then I like played my way to stay. And then, I kind of knew that I was like his last thing he wanted to do was like send me home, like he wanted to make sure I went home before he did. And of course he did that.
Wow. So it sounds like you and Joe had a pretty pretty big rivalry before the season.
Yeah.
You know, are you comfortable with talking a little bit about that?
It's always been like a friendly rivalry. Like I actually don't have any like harsh feelings towards him, but we've always like there were cases before Survivor where we would put in teams together, and we're both pretty natural leaders, I guess, and so we'd clash. We're very similar, so I think that's why we kept clashing. I think I was only disappointed mainly from like the first episode when I knew that because of our personal rivalry, he would like bring up like me as a reason to go.
Ooh.
And like I kind of like went in there like into the game with like a complete clean slate, being like, I'm going to target who I think deserves to go home, not who I have a rivalry with. So,
Yeah. So who are the people you know and who like you knew going into it, and who didn't you know?
So I knew Joe and Jess.
Oh yeah.
I think that was it. But who else was in Survivor? It's so long ago.
So there's Jake, Kahu, Mitch, Helena. Is that it? Sam.
Yeah, no, I only knew Joe and Jess.
Yeah,
Benji.
Nice. Yeah, nice. Okay. Yeah, so can you tell us a bit about like your kind of journey in the game, like how you found the experience, that kind of thing?
I really enjoyed it. I definitely liked how the first episode played out and how I managed to kind of skewer the votes. And yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed it up until when Jess went home. And I think that like at that point, I knew that I was by myself. And like, I think I always kind of knew that like I was going to be one of the next to go. And that last episode, I definitely was just kind of defeated at that point and was like, I don't even care what I do anymore, because I was kind of like, no matter how well I played the game at that point, I was already targeted. So yeah, I really enjoyed it though. It was a lot of fun and definitely like something I would never like. I was never like a massive fan of Survivor. I used to watch it quite a lot, but I was always like, I couldn't do that. Like, yeah. And like the only reason I said yes to going on was because Benji was like, you don't have to eat any bugs. I was like, okay, good.
Well, you certainly played with some bugs. One of my favorite moments in the second episode is when you just have this giant tarantula crawling across your arm. I mean, I live in America. That stuff is just I would never do that, you know. But like, is that like a natural thing? Just having crazy bugs, just like that?
The difference between America and New Zealand is that we've got no venomous bugs, so like there's no worry about getting sick.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So it's like New Zealand's one of the only places where you can literally go barefoot into the woods and not have to worry about anything. So
I did that.
I used to be a zookeeper, so I love all bugs, all creepy crawlies. I love like reptiles and all that too. So like I quite often I'm the person in the house that gets the bugs out pretty much. Like there's a bug, I'll pick it up and then take it outside.
It makes sense that you wouldn't want to eat them then.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Nature enthusiast. Nature enthusiast.
Very much so.
Well, that's good. You know, well, so we're talking about the episode a little bit here, about the third episode.
Mm-hmm.
You know, tell me a little bit about what was going on before you guys went to the immunity challenge. There was a lot of like back and forth between a lot of people. I said at the beginning of this podcast, this was day 3 for you guys, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So y'all are all tired, deprived of sleep and food at this point, I'm sure. Like, can you talk a little bit about how it was like waking up on the morning of day 3 and what it was like before going to the immunity challenge?
I think for me it was a very different because of course Jess had gone home the previous night, so like I literally was alone, and there was just kind of strange tension in the air. You didn't really know, like, I think the thing was is that there were alliances that were kind of created, but they weren't completely like set in place. They were always quite flexible, and so you never really knew who was going against who or like who was teamed up with who, and people changed a lot. And I think having the game played over only a few days rather than like a much greater time span is quite challenging because you really don't really know who you're going to trust, and the people that you might think are trustworthy on day one might not be by day two. So it was definitely quite hard to kind of read people. But yeah, like I remember there being a lot of tension and a lot of minds changed as well. Like before that, like it was all like, do we vote Jake? Do we vote Joe? And that was kind of like the two.
Like every name was out there.
Yeah. And that's kind of like where I think a lot of people kind of lost it, was that we were just tossing out every single name and no one really knew what to say or what to feel. And I think everyone heard their name at least once that day. So it was stressful.
So there was a point where like Jake was getting pretty like, stressed and worried about it. He had the sort of direct read that Kahu and Mitch and Sam were potentially targeting him.
Yeah.
Sort of like tried to like calm him down. Can you like talk us through like, was that effective? Do you think it worked for him or you?
Yeah, I think that like after Jess left, I definitely put a lot of trust in Jake. And I think that was because in the first, when my name first came up in the first episode, he ran to Jess, who ran to me straight away. So like because of that, can you go? Sorry, not you. Sorry. So I think because of that, what were they saying? Yeah, so I kind of trusted him and was like, he will try and keep me around. And like, so yeah, I kind of knew that was like good. But yeah, it was like he was very stressed. And I didn't know that he had the immunity idol at all. So that kind of bummed me out. And I was like, why didn't you just tell me?
Yeah, right. Yeah, because it seemed like you sort of had some inkling that you were going home. Is that right?
I think there was always, as soon as like after the immunity challenge, when like Joe and Kahu and Sam, was it?
Yeah.
Sam, yeah. They went and had like their breakfast and stuff. I kind of had an inkling that Joe would be able to sway them. I didn't know Joe had that extra vote though either, so there was also that. But yeah, I kind of like had an inkling, and by the time we got to the actual like voting, I kind of knew that I was going. And at that point, like I was just kind of like, oh well, like I can't do anything. I tried my best.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was my favorite immunity challenge. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I also I found it very strange what came out of it, like how Kahu didn't choose Mitch. Like that went all in our minds. We were like, you've literally got this like what seemed to be the strongest alliance was the two of them throughout the competition so far, and then you just cut your teammate off. Like, definitely was very strange.
Yeah, so we were just talking about that because we liked that decision because it's like it's a thing that people often they don't do on Survivor when like it can be like really beneficial, like leaving your ally to pick up the information and taking the person who's maybe like the swing vote, like maybe Sam. Yeah, but it could definitely, could have backfired. Like, you know, saying to Mitch, hey, he didn't pick you. Like,
yeah, I think it and I remember Mitch being like really confused and upset, and I think that like it would have tainted his trust a little bit, especially because Mitch really wanted to go to the breakfast as well, and we were all just like, choose him, like why wouldn't you? So I think that was kind of like unfair for Mitch, and I think that like I understand the strategy in that, but I think that they hadn't talked about that idea of like You know, like there was no discussion of like, what if one of us wins and we can see someone to get their award with us, or like, and you stay behind and you do all this. Like there was none of that. So it was kind of just like, yeah, okay, no, we're not taking you. Like, yeah, it was pretty harsh.
It'll be interesting to see if Kahu's able to do any damage control with Mitch next episode, or if it does backfire on him. Yeah.
It's crazy watching this back because it's been so long, like since we filmed it, and like I honestly forget what happens. I will be watching it and I'll literally have my heart racing, being like, "Who's going home? Like, what's happening?" And I'm like, I just don't remember it. So yeah, Benji was like, "Don't spoil anything." And I'm like, I don't remember anything to spoil.
You're just watching yourself get blindsided, be like, "Oh my gosh, I just."
The first episode with the vote with like me and Helena, the whole episode, my heart was pounding, and I was like, "Wait, I know what happened, but why am I like on edge?" But I guess that's what happens after many years, and also seeing an edit where it's like not just you're seeing everyone and everyone talk about you.
Yeah, it's like the vibe, right? Like the feel, and stuff. Like,
Well, speaking of the edit that you just mentioned a minute ago, I thought it was really interesting in episode 3 where there was you were really edited to like not get voted off. I was thinking like, I don't think she's going to get voted off. I think Holly makes it a while, at this point.
Yeah, I was like, it's going to be Jake. Jake's going to play his idol. Then it will be Joe going.
Yeah, well, like what was interesting about that was my name was actually one of the ones that came up the least up until that breakfast.
Wow.
So that's kind of like why I thought I was going to be okay. And also, like, we talked about it before by being like, you guys are going to look really bad if you vote off all the girls first. Like, like, who really wants that to happen? It's just not good TV. So we always had that kind of joke going around. And so at first I thought I was fine. And it wasn't until the breakfast and when Joe got that extra vote that he realized that he could actually like play with that and send me home. But yeah, so like the editing was very much like I was feeling very confident that day, and that was probably the most confident I felt up until that breakfast happened, and I was just back at camp, and I was like, I don't think this is going to go well.
Well, there was actually something really interesting that happened during this episode that we haven't seen. I don't know. This might be the first time Benji has ever done something like this, like in Survivor history ever. I don't know officially if that's true or not, but you guys split up the merged tribe and went to 2 different locations. And then came into tribal without talking to each other before. Usually on a reward challenge, they just come back and then they talk and then they go to tribal. How was that? Was that a twist for you when Benji said that?
That was definitely when he said that, that's when I started feeling unsafe, because the thing is, like, I'm very good with words and I can be very manipulative. And I think that episode showed me just being like, I just don't even care that much anymore. Like, I feel like I'm going to be going home one of the next anyways, so let's try and mess with people's heads. So I did that with Sam kind of by being like, I sent Helena home, I could send you home. Because Sam's he's such a middleman, like he's not really with anyone, and so I just kind of took that opportunity. But yeah, like it was so strange not being able to talk to anyone from the breakfast kids, I guess. And yeah, so it was definitely like stressful because we didn't know if they'd changed the vote, which they had. We didn't know like what happened. And yeah, so I think at that point, all of us back at camp were like, this is not good. And yeah, we were all feeling pretty lousy at that point as well.
Yeah, how was it coming back to camp after, especially with Mitch, who had just gotten completely betrayed almost.
Yeah.
And they hadn't talked about it. What was the vibe coming back to camp after that reward challenge?
It was definitely very like down buzz. We all felt really bad for Mitch, especially because like since Rafe left, he was youngest in the competition and definitely kind of like clung to Kahu. And so I really think that at that point, like we were all just kind of like, wow, like are any alliances real? Because that was always a thing. It was always Kahu and Mitch. Everyone always agreed with that. So yeah, it definitely upset Mitch, which kind of played in my favor because it meant that I could make sure I knew who he was voting for and knew I wouldn't be blindsided. But yeah, it was definitely not fun going back to eat our rice.
So how did the votes end up playing out? Because I don't remember. So did Mitch end up voting with you guys?
Yeah, so he voted with us. So there was 6 votes, but then Joe got an extra vote.
Yeah.
As his reward. So it was 4 votes together and 3 votes to Joe. So me, Mitch, and Jake all voted for Joe to go home, and then Joe managed to like sway the others. So Kahu, Joe twice, and Sam voted me. So yeah, that's how it ended up. So yeah, it's also just kind of like if Joe didn't lose, because he got that vote because he lost the challenge. So like if he didn't lose that challenge, then like it could have been completely different.
Yeah.
Well, now I know this competition happened 2 years ago, so I want you to really like rack your memory here. Who was controlling the game, in your opinion, at that point?
From the time?
Yeah, so like right at the time after, so Benji says, all right, everybody, we're splitting into 2 groups. You can't talk to anybody. Who's in control at that very moment?
Like of each group?
Of just like who's in the best position, basically? Kahu, really? Okay.
Not just because he won the challenge, but also because he had like this attitude where he acted as though like he didn't really know what was going on and wasn't paying attention, but like in reality he really had a strategy going on.
This was brought up in the episode as well. Were you the person who brought that up?
Yeah. Because that's definitely how he acted, but then I'd hear what he would say to other people and I'd be like, oh, he knows how to play this game and he's playing it well. And like kind of try to get across to like pretend we didn't know he was playing the game well, but we actually did, and like it was just kind of a weird balance, I guess. But yeah, so I definitely found him to be a big threat, and I think he definitely was in the best position at that point. Yeah.
Wow. That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm trying to think. So, all right. Let's talk about Jake real quick. Jake finds an idol. Do you know about this?
I can't remember if I knew that he found it or not. I think I did know, because he was going to use it either on me or on himself, and he was tossing that up because he didn't know who was going to be safe or not, which is why when my name gets called to go home, you can see that he's like kicking himself. And I think everyone expected him to find it. That's why he wasn't voted. So yeah, I think I knew that I'm pretty sure I knew he'd found it. But one thing that did anger me was I was never told the real clue. So yeah, it was kind of like a weird alliance. Yeah.
Yeah, because that fake clue got passed around a lot, and then
and they found out the real one and didn't correct everyone, and like I mean, it was definitely a really good idea of Sam to pass around that fake clue. Because I was just I felt so stupid though. I was like, where is it? And I was on the ground. So.
That's crazy. And did you know that Jake was gonna play the idol? Hello?
Hello? Sorry, it just like broke for a second.
Oh, okay. Can you guys hear me? So.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say, okay. Did you know that Jake was going to play the idol at the tribal council for just play in general?
Yeah. I knew that he would. I knew that he was feeling really unsafe because his name was coming up a lot. But I think that like everyone kind of realized that he's the one with all the clues. He's the one that's going to be looking for it the longest. And like, yeah. So I think that like he knew he was going to play it though, just because he wanted to be safe.
Nice.
Right. How did you feel leaving the game? Like, did you have regrets? Did you, feel good or bad about the experience?
I mean, honestly, at that point, I was just ready to like sleep in a proper bed and get some food and rice. But yeah, I was definitely like upset that I went so soon, but also like I wasn't the first to go, which is what I was worried about. And I managed to stay there as long as I could, and I didn't really have any regrets with how I played the game. I think I played it as fair as I could. And yeah, I mean, like, stuff happens. But yeah, no, I was really exhausted by that point anyway. So I was kind of like, yeah, no, I don't mind going to bed.
Fair. Well, you were definitely a joy to watch. Loved your sort of underdog story, and we were both cheering for you and hoping you wouldn't get voted out. But, unfortunately, yeah, stuff happens.
Yeah. Hashtag woman haters.
Yeah, hashtag women haters.
No.
It was actually really funny. There was like a dairy nearby, like a corner store, and I told the guy that owned it that I got voted off, and he was like, I'm going to like make a petition to get you voted back on. Like, this is so unfair. And it was so funny. Like, I've got like a video of him. I might see if Benji wants to like add it on as like a bonus something or other. It's so funny. But yeah.
That's awesome. That's
great.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was just such a great episode in my opinion. I think the editing in this episode, on top of the strategy, like the editing and the production value and the strategy really matched at this point. And I think it's just going to continue over just like that and get better and better each episode. The first two episodes were great, but this one I think was the best one of the three, I would say.
Yeah, you can definitely see like why it took 2 years to edit together. But it was crazy, like the amount of cameras, everyone's phones were being used to record, and like I don't know how we kept track of it. Everyone like had like a phone in their pocket to record like them as a mic, and like it was very low budget but also worked out very well, and it looked like we had like a multi-camera crew, so it was filmed really well. And yeah Benji spent a lot of time on that.
Well, do you have any more questions for Holly, Alex?
You know what, I would like to ask you real quick, Holly. So unfortunately we weren't able to get Benji on this call tonight, but at the very end of the episode, there's a very, I'm looking back at my notes here now. I just want to say, in the words of Sandra Diaz-Twine, damn, they played his ass. In this case, her. They got you. They got you. And it's really, really unfortunate. Because I thought you were a great player out there, and I would love to see you back on Matariki season 2 if there ever is one. So, would you ever play again?
By All Stars?
I've always talked about doing like production assistant for the future ones, but like I could probably play again. It was really fun. As long as I don't have to eat any bugs, I'll do it.
Nice. Well, here. So let me ask you. I know we haven't talked to Benji tonight, but at the very end of the episode, there's a very ominous message. Liz, do you still have that pulled up?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you want to read that?
So it says, there will not be a new episode next week. There will, however, be an announcement Wednesday, 8/7 Central. And then it says, to be continued.
So when I saw that originally, I was a little scared. I was like, oh my gosh, is this the end of Matariki? I hope not. I hope there's more. And I was like, no, it's all good. But I do want to ask, like, do you happen to know what's going on with Matariki? Is everything all good with Benji and everything?
I have no idea. I saw that as well, and I was like, okay. I have no idea what he's got planned at all.
Okay.
Yeah. One sec.
Yeah.
I'm just worried my laptop's gonna die. It's on 1%.
Okay.
I'll just grab my charger. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah. My guess with that would be that he just needs like a bit more time to like finish off editing one of the episodes, or yeah. I mean, but that was the case for the last one, and you said something different, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope everything's all good over there. I think I mean I'm sure it's just probably a simple like little editing.
Or like
you know, like I need more time. Just straight up like that. I wish I had him here tonight to ask him because I'm nervous. I'm scared.
And he'll comment.
Good. Yeah, definitely. But yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to break down about that episode, Liz?
Well, apparently it's the week for touchy subjects in a lot of LRGs, which is true actually, because the totem pole had it, or their version of it. Stirred up a bit of drama there. I'm not sure what other ones had it, but yeah. It's a great challenge.
It is a great. Have you ever done that on Melbourne Survivor?
Yeah. So yeah. I did it in like the episode before the one that is most recent. So yeah, it's pretty good. It always just kind of stirs something up. It highlights kind of who the threats are. It exposes people. And I think, that's one of the things that, makes for great TV is when you, when people get exposed in some way. Like it's a game about lying, but then when the truth comes out, like that's almost when it's the most entertaining. I don't know.
I think Holly's computer probably died at 1%. So I do not know if she's gonna come back or not, but
I think she's back.
She's back. Guys, oh my gosh.
We're probably about to wrap up.
Yeah.
Any last-minute things we want to say?
Yeah. Well, I did want to kind of go off what you were saying there, Liz. I've never really done the touchy subjects challenge in any of my seasons, so I don't really know how it is. But it's definitely a very interesting challenge to do, and definitely very fun to watch as well, because everybody just gets their game blown up. So
yeah. Oh yeah, for Holly and anyone else who you might not know, me and Alex also host our own fan-made Survivor things in Melbourne, Australia, and Alex in Colorado in America. Yeah, you can check me out, Survivor Colorado and Melbourne Survivor, both on YouTube.
Yeah, go to Rock Ledge Studios to check out mine.
Look at a hat, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was like $15, but it was. Yeah. Rock Ledge Studios for Survivor Colorado, and that's pretty cool.
Pretty good. Also, like a younger cast for that one.
Yeah. Here's your turn to shout something out, Holly. What do you want to plug?
So I have a YouTube channel called Halsey. I've had that for like 7 years or 8 years. So if you want to subscribe or like check me out there on YouTube. And I also have an Instagram page called Halsey_73, and I post a lot of stuff there.
Nice.
Cool.
Sweet.
Will follow.
How do you spell that? Like Halsey, like
HOLZIE.
Okay. Put an S in there.
It gets spelled all the time.
I didn't hear that, so Liz, just send me the link when you find it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, it's great chatting. I think that's all we got to say.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Holly, for tuning in. Yeah.
All right. Looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah. Can you tell us anything? Do you know anything about the rest of the season, Holly?
Oh man, honestly, I slept so much.
Oh.
After I got off, I was exhausted. I stayed on where everything was filmed, stayed on site, but I slept for so long that I missed so much stuff. I don't even remember who does. Yeah. I'm so I'm just as clueless as everyone else watching this at this point. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Right.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. I'll sign off.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Holly.
It was nice meeting you.
This week of Matariki, talking about we still got to figure out a name.
Right? We don't know.
All right. Thanks for watching, everyone.